Nigel Farage joins us for the next 10 minutes. You can follow him at Twitter, Nigel_Farage. I'm not going to go over his whole background because that would take the 10 minutes we have, but he's helped lead the populist movement, not just in the UK and Brexit, but in Europe. Now we have Viktor Orban with a huge landslide victory against Soros's reported $50 million+ put in. We see nationalism spreading, free market nationalism all over the world. And so a true modern Paul Revere, Magna Carta, whatever you want to call it, Nigel Farage joins us. I want to get into, obviously it was 5-6 years ago that England led the charge to not attack Syria, not that Assad's a good guy. Now we have a lady obviously in political trouble, May, the prime minister, wanting a war. But now Mattis has come out, Secretary of Defense today, and said there's no evidence the Russians did this. So, wow. And we're talking about potentially a wider war, a new world war, many analysts say. Nigel Farage, I know you've been speaking to this in your syndicated radio and TV program. What is the latest from the UK?
Well, remember that in 2013, it was in fact British public opinion that shifted our politicians, that stopped us getting involved in Syria. And don't forget, the object of the government at the time was to arm the rebels. Alex, if we'd done that, we'd have armed ISIS. It would have been mad. And actually, it was British public opinion affecting our politicians that stopped Obama and America from getting involved in this. So I'm a great believer, actually, with all these things. Trust Middle England, trust Middle America. They tend to get it right more than London or Washington, D.C. Now, Mrs. May does appear keen to get involved militarily. All I can tell her is be careful, because public opinion now against intervention is probably even stronger than it was 4 years ago. And there's one bit of good news, Alex. I think the president's tweets and Mattis's comments today, I think they've kind of rethought the stuff that was being said in D.C. yesterday morning. They're taking a break. They're having a pause. And you know something? Even if you prove to me conclusively that Assad had ordered that chemical attack on those civilians, which I kind of doubt because he's winning anyway, but that's by the by. Even if you prove that to me, what good would massive military strikes that could possibly topple him from the leadership, give us a massive vacuum, and let ISIS, who've just been beaten on the battlefield, back in? There is no argument, Alex, here for intervention.
What do you make of the Russian ambassador to the EU and the Russian ambassador to the UN saying the same rebels have been caught 3 times, even the UN says that, staging these provocations, and that elements of the deep state in the U.S., and I know that Trump's been fighting with the generals, some of them are on his side, some aren't, who are actually trying to reconstitute ISIS under a new name, and the Russians are saying, we wouldn't do this, we're pulling out, and they're pointing the finger towards the rebels, saying they staged a false flag.
Well, you know, I've no idea. You know, but let's put it like this. If it wasn't Assad that did it, you know, you can make arguments about the deep state doing it. But equally, don't forget that ISIS themselves a couple of years ago were on record for using chemical weapons no fewer than 52 times. ISIS could quite easily have done this, hoping the world would blame Assad and the Russians, particularly in the wake of the arguments that are still going on about the poisonings that took place in Salisbury, England. So the answer is we don't know. And look, come on, the biggest decision government ever makes is to get involved in an act of war. And you should not do it unless you've got a long-term strategy. Where Iraq went wrong and where Libya went wrong is we were short-term trying to get rid of leaders we didn't like without any thought for what came afterwards. We must not make that same mistake again.
Well, that's another thing with the Iraq war that I know that you were against the second one. I know Trump was against it. That's on record as real libertarians, as real nationalists. The neocons and others didn't think about what happens when you kick Saddam out. You get something even worse. Let's not forget it was the CIA that put Saddam in, and then you remove him, or we removed our allies in Egypt, and then something 50 times worse got in. I mean, it's just absurd to never think about the second and third and fourth moves that are going to happen. What's wrong with these elements, both in the left and right, that just love war?
Yeah, it's become the new let's show our people how strong we are. Let's distract their attention away from them to the extent to which we're removing their liberties and their freedoms. Let's show them what strong leaders are. Let's go to war. And we keep going to war. We keep getting it wrong. And Alex, you forgot to mention Libya a moment ago. You know, we got rid of Gaddafi. All right. You know, I wouldn't want to take Gaddafi home to meet my mum for tea.
Yeah.
But the fact is, with Gaddafi gone, ISIS is back. The flow of migrants across the Mediterranean have chiefly been coming from Libya. And did you know, Alex, there are now open slave markets back in Libya? Haven't we done well? So given this dreadful record of failure, let's just think, please.
Wow, it's just amazing. Hillary came, she saw Gaddafi died, and now we've got millions of people pouring across into Spain, into Italy, and the EU Navy they want to form wants to stop Italy and Spain from stopping these people from coming in. I mean, this is just completely insane, completely absurd. And you've talked about that. The bigger EU plan to collapse the Middle East and North Africa and flood Europe with Islamicists. Orban's victory stands against that. You're a leading expert on this. Why is the left allied with radical Islam? Why are they trying to flood?
Because they hate Christianity. They can't, I mean, they deny absolutely our Judeo-Christian culture, which if you think about it, actually are the roots completely of our nations and our civilization. They deny that. They also, don't forget, Alex, they want to abolish the nation state. They want to get rid of it. They want to replace it with the globalist project, and the European Union is the prototype for the new world order. Do you know, if Hillary had won that election last year, she was going to sign America up to get really close to this kind of thing. So, we may sit here right now, Alex, and be a bit critical of Trump, but on many other things, he's got things right. And when you send a message, when Angela Merkel sends a message, as many of you as want to come can come, what do you think they're going to do?
Well, you're absolutely right. Nigel Farage is our guest here for just a few more minutes, and that's where I was going next, is Merkel famously on the stage with the Facebook head, Zuckerberg, saying, don't worry, we're going to censor anybody that criticizes the EU trying to pass laws. You've been part of the EU Parliament. That's just ceremonial. You've witnessed that. Now in the UK, they're arresting people that criticize Islam or say that there are two genders. They're trying to restrict free speech here. Don't we need in Europe and the UK and the US to really get on the offense and demand that free speech be exercised and be protected, because the left is trying to bully it out of existence? They filed 15 frivolous lawsuits on me now. Yeah, I'm working them in today. The lawyers see it. They're total frauds. They're overturned as fast as they come in. But it's just they are so authoritarian. The left is so authoritarian.
Yes, the liberals actually are very illiberal. In fact, the liberals have become the very fascists that they try and criticize with their rhetoric. And look, what's really happening here? Don't underestimate how massive the seismic shock of 2016 was. The victory of Brexit, the victory of Trump. We're winning. Look at Hungary the other day. We are winning, but it doesn't feel like we're winning because the left and the state are fighting back with all their might. And you know something? If we can resist this politically correct charge, this attempt to stop us thinking and speaking freely, if we can resist that, then our victory actually will be complete. So don't get down, everybody. Don't get depressed. They're behaving like this because we're beating them.
And let's remember, you're the guy when Trump thought 3 months before he was going to lose that came and privately cheered him up and cheered up the troops. And you were a critical catalyst in this, just as you were in Brexit. You're amazing. Thank you for joining us. I know you're very busy. But that's as the EU has said. They'll try to start a wider war to keep the EU. Don't you think that's what part of this attempt to start World War III is about in Syria?
I think the globalists have wanted to have some form of conflict with Russia as an argument for us all to surrender our national sovereignty and give it up to a higher global level. They've wanted it for years, and now they see their opportunity, and we must protect.
Thank you so much, Nigel Farage. We
will make America great again.